Welcome to a special edition of Lifestyles. Join us for fun in the sun at the newest resort of the rich and famous.
Oh, big right hand blocked by the champion. And the Hulkster unloading, going for a slam.
Let's get physical, physical. 'Cause this is night.
What you talking about, Willis?
That was the quintessential 1980s, for those who may be old enough to remember it, like myself. In fairness, I was in middle school for most of that, okay? It was also the era when Donald Trump first rose to fame in business and tabloid circles, to the peak for his, at the time, mostly positive, even celebrity public image. And while the rest of us moved on from the 80s, Trump just hasn't been able to let go of his signature era. And he's done everything he can to keep it alive. Trump biographer Tim O'Brien calls Trump the crypt keeper for the 1980s, which was the high point of his life until he became president, adding that none of his tastes have been updated in decades. Note all the gold. That could also explain Trump's 80s personal style, including his use of shoulder pads and the extended length of his signature monochrome ties. Or why you hear songs like Gloria and hits by the Village People consistently played at Trump's rallies. And why random 80s celebrities like Hulk Hogan turn up at his events, including the Republican National Convention on the night Trump accepted the nomination. And perhaps it best explains why we've repeatedly heard Trump reference Hannibal Lecter, a character from the book The Silence of the Lambs, which was released in the 1980s.
Did you ever hear of Hannibal Lecter? He was a lovely man. He would love to have you for dinner. Has anyone seen Silence of the Lambs? The late, great Hannibal Lecter. Hannibal Lecter. The late, great Hannibal Lecter would like to have you for dinner. But they're always saying, like, he mentions Hannibal Lecter. It doesn't make sense. No, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. Joining me now is Tim O'Brien, senior executive editor of Bloomberg Opinion and MSNBC political analyst. Tim, you wrote this segment, so explain to us, why does this man keep talking about Hannibal Lecter?
Well, you know, Joy, it was so funny, like right when he finished that clip saying it makes sense, I was thinking to myself, it does not make sense. And then you verbalized, you said, no, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
You know, before we get into the sort of funhouse of interpreting what motivates and inspires Donald Trump, it's worth just stepping back from it for a second to remember that this is the nominee of the Republican Party, and he is deeply unhinged.
Yes.
And he is getting worse. You know, his hearing appears to be getting worse. He's slurring his speech, and he aspires to lead the most powerful nation on the planet from the White House. And while all of this stuff is fun to poke fun at, which it should be, and it is weird, which it is, it's also much more profoundly dangerous and troubling because he's not fit for office. Now, having set it all up with that, part of the Hannibal Lecter references, I think, come from the fact that Donald Trump actually thinks that migrants seeking asylum belong in insane asylums, and Hannibal Lecter was in an asylum, and he can't really separate the difference from the two. So that's raw ignorance. And then the larger, I think, cultural touch point here is that Donald Trump is indeed baked in amber. The clothing he wears, the celebrities he fawns over, the music he most closely relates to is all from the 1980s.
Yeah.
And you know, he completed Trump Tower in the 1980s. It was the first project he did apart from his father. It was the project that put him on magazine covers. It's the project that ultimately led to the book, The Art of the Deal. And he was celebrated as this young deal maker who could do no wrong. And on a number of occasions when he talked to me about that period of his life, he had this obsession with Orson Welles and Citizen Kane, and the idea that, you know, Welles' greatest movie was completed when he was still in his 20s, and he never really equaled it again. And he had this great fear that Trump Tower would be the signature moment of his life. And in fact, he then went on a whole bankruptcy spree, and through most of the late 1980s and 1990s, he was a punchline about the excesses of the 1980s until The Apprentice came along, which, you know, lifted him up as a celebrity, but still no one took him seriously. and then he became president. And so the long arc here is tracing the life of someone who actually never grew up and never grew beyond this one era in which he felt he was celebrated without anyone blinking.
You know, and it's interesting that you say that. I mean, again, he literally went to the 2001 or 2001, premiere of the Hannibal Lecter, there it is. That's the premiere of the sequel with Melania, who he was dating at the time. He's sort of stuck in the era when celebrities courted him, when he was part of the celebrity world, before he was a pariah among the rich. But there's something about what you just said. Aging people who are aging, oftentimes will retreat to a comfort space. And it's not necessarily Alzheimer's, but it's part of the aging brain where you start off talking about one thing and you end up back where you're comfortable. You've been interviewing this guy for a long time. You've covered him back then. Does he feel fully cognitively healthy? Because some of that could just be an aging brain.
Well, I think some of it is an aging brain, but let's remember that his father died from Alzheimer's. Donald Trump has always lived in mortal terror of the fact that he may have the gene and he may die of Alzheimer's too. I think Fred Trump was 86 years old when that began, and he died several years later. So I think this is more than someone who's just aging. This is somebody, I think, who's living in the past for the reasons you identified, which is that it's common to go back to what you know. There's another thing to really remember is that the United States is going to become a minority-majority country within the next 20 years or so. And he is standing up for a world he came from, a primarily white world.
That's right. That's right. And he can't let go of it. Tim O'Brien, thank you.
Thanks,
You're
Joy.
the best.